This is Chris from Atlantic Outboard, and this is your digital delivery of your brand new Pursuit DC266. Once you enter the boat, the first thing you want to do is turn on your power supply. Okay, if you come down here, take a look, you're going to have a house and then your engines. Turn them to on. Okay. You may hear a beeping noise. That's going to be your VHF. All you do is you go over to the microphone and then you hit the cancel button. Okay. If you ever are low on battery power, a tip would be to combine the batteries. So you turn the switch past the on position to combine batteries. That will be enough power to get should be enough power to get your motor started. Once the motor is started, then it will charge both batteries. We get that question a lot. Some people leave their battery switch on overnight and it drains the battery to where they can't start. If you have low voltage, turn it to both batteries and that should be enough to get your boat started. Once you have your power on, I recommend coming up to the dash and starting the boat, okay, to get the motor warmed up. You have to make sure that your key lanyard is engaged. The boat will not start unless that is engaged. The motor will crank and you will get an error code. Make sure that's engaged and then the boat will start right up. At your dash, you have your horn. You have a navigation light. If you're ever running at night, you would have to turn that on. You have cockpit lighting, which is a courtesy light throughout the boat. You have overhead lights in the hardtop. There's 3 different colors. It'll be red, blue, and white. If they ever get out of sync of each other, you just hold the button down and it'll reset. You may have a blue one on one side and a white one. To reset that, you hold it down and it would sync. You have spreader lights that'll engage the spreader lights in the back and the front. Windshield wiper, self-explanatory. If you need to turn the windshield wiper on, flip the switch. You'll have a blank accessory switch. If we ever have to add components down the road, we could wire it to that blank accessory switch. You have a mid-level lighting switch that's more accessory lighting throughout the boat. If your boat is equipped with underwater lights, that switch would engage that. These are generic panels, so whether or not you have underwater lighting or not, you will still have a switch for it. The windlass can be operated at 2 locations. At the helm, there's a windlass button for up and down, and up on the bow, you can operate it with a set of controls up at the bow. Your bilge pump is hardwired to the battery. If you get water in your bilge and the battery switches off, it will still pump the water out of the boat. If you say dump a bucket of soapy water in the bilge to clean it up, you can manually engage that pump by flipping the switch and then it will pump that water out. To prime your fresh water system, if you're going to use the toilet or your shower, you have to have the fresh water switch on. That'll turn on the pump and pressurize your system. You do have a saltwater washdown option in this boat. You need to make sure if you want to use that saltwater washdown, you hit the washdown switch. To engage the live well pump, there's a live well switch. If you put a fish in the live well, you simply hit this switch and it'll pump salt water into that live well. If your boat is equipped with the power steering option, you would want to leave the power steering switch on. Most of the boats we're selling do not have the power steering, so that would just be a blank switch. Your GPS power button would be located here, and then all your Yamaha data would be coming through your Yamaha gauge, your fuel flow, fuel burn, battery voltage, etc. Your VHF would be here. When you heard the beeping noise when I first powered on the boat, to get rid of that, it's asking for what's called an MMSI number. If you reach out to your Towboat US or Sea-Tow, they will give you an MMSI number, and then it's very easy to put that number in here. That's basically linking your personal information to this boat. If there was an emergency situation, they would know who's in the emergency. Once that MMSI number is engaged, the VHF will stop beeping at you every time you turn on the boat. To access the components in your machinery space or your bilge, you lift up this and you turn it, and then your whole lid will open up. Okay. Under here is more for service for us. That's access to your fuel valves. You really don't need to get in there, but I'll walk you through the bilge area, and Pursuit does an excellent job of labeling everything, so you'll be easily to be able to identify each system. Here is your Yamaha fuel separators. That's going to separate any water that your fuel system would pick up so it doesn't go through the motor. You have a washdown pump, again labeled, a bait well pump. You have a drain, your dual batteries, and then these are very important, as any boat owner should know. If you're ever in an emergency situation and there's water getting into your bilge, the first step to figure out where it's coming from is to isolate it. So these are ball valves. In the straight up in line position, those valves are open. If you're ever in an emergency situation, you would want to shut these valves. That would stop the access of the water from coming in the boat. Okay? At that point, your bilge pump would catch up, and then you could come down here and figure out where the water's coming from. That's only in an emergency situation, but any boat owner should know where his through-hull ball valves are. This boat has 3 separate ones, so you have some for your pumps and for your drain. If you ever need to access your bilge pump directly, there's these inspection plates in front of the motor here. Those unscrew and allow our service technicians to get directly to that bilge pump. This is the head compartment of your new Pursuit DC266. It's pretty simple stuff, but you have your freshwater sink here. You would need to flip the switch for water pressure on your dash. That'll prime the pump and allow you to wash your hands. Also, you would need to have that pump on to flush the toilet. The toilet's actually a pretty smart toilet. In order to flush it, you have 4 different options. You could do a quick flush, a double flush. Given that this is a smaller boat with a smaller holding capacity for a freshwater tank, I would just do the conserve flush. It'll do a normal flush. You hit it once and it will do its thing. This boat is equipped with an overboard discharge pump. You have to be 8 miles from shore in order to legally pump overboard. That's what you see that macerator switch for. In this middle bilge area is going to be another ball valve. You would have to open that valve and then you would hit that switch and it would pump your waste overboard. Again, I repeat, you have to be legally 8 miles from shore in order to pump overboard. You have a light in here. You're going to be able to turn that on from the switch that's located right next to it. You have a little bit of storage below. And then this head compartment does have a drain. So if you need to clean up, you could literally spray it down with fresh water and bleach or what have you, and it will have a drain. You have a fire extinguisher located inside, and then this latch is to open the door from the inside. You also have a magnet on the back side that holds the door open for you. In this middle bilge area, one tip is to make sure that these drains stay clear of debris. If you start to get debris in it, and as you're washing the boat and it doesn't drain properly, it'll actually go into this middle bilge area. So keep those drains clear. In this middle bilge area, excellent space for storage. You do have 2 components down below. That's where the valve would be for the overboard head discharge I discussed earlier. So there's a tie wrap legally keeping it closed. If you're 8 miles from shore, you could cut that tie wrap, open the handle, and then hit the discharge pump switch inside the head. There's also drain for this gutter system. That green handle, if you ever need to close it, it's a simple ball valve, but most of the time you're going to keep that open so the drain drains properly. On your new DC266, this boat is equipped with a digital shift, which means there's no shift linkage going from the helm back to the motors. Everything is done digitally. I always give the tip, to find neutral, you have these handles lined up directly with the Yamaha label. Okay, as you push forward, that'll engage the prop turning forward and push the boat forward. I always recommend pushing one forward, then the other, so it doesn't take as much force to push them both forward. Anytime pulling out of a slip or docking, you want to keep low RPM, so just bump it in gear and then neutral. In gear, then neutral. As you push this farther forward, obviously it's going to give you more throttle and more speed. Same thing with reverse. Just one click back into gear will help you reverse. So I always give the recommendation, in and out of gear. Neutral is going to be your best friend. You don't want to approach a dock going too fast. If you hit the dock going fast, you're going to do a lot of damage. So approach the dock going very slow. If you need to fend off, you can do so. Over here is your trim tab indicators. You will have illuminated boxes to show how far and what position those trim tabs are. If you have a heavier friend and the boat is leaning towards the starboard, you would want to engage the trim tabs on the port to counteract that. It's more so for weight displacement. This boat performs fine without any trim tabs. The only other time you would want trim tabs is in a very rough weather situation, to where you want to keep that bow more so down and plowing water instead of jumping up. And at that point, you could push your trim tabs down. Start like halfway down in a rough scenario. If you want to trim them all the way down, it will slow the performance of the boat down, but it'll give you a more solid ride instead of the boat porpoising out of the water. Again, this boat performs fine without trim tabs. The only times you would need these is to distribute the weight properly or in a rough weather situation. Behind the dash of your new DC266, you'll have a garbage can located there. Excellent place for storage of your canvas. This boat has a bow and cockpit cover that snaps in. That's a great place to store those. Very dry, good access for storage. Moving forward, you have storage under each seat. The seat simply lifts up like this. You have some USB charge points on either side. You have flip up and down armrests. You have stainless cup holders, grab handle throughout. You can see all the snaps for your bow cover. Here's a question we get quite a bit. This window does fold close, but when it's open, it locks into place. To disengage this, you simply pull this, and then it'll allow it up. And again, now that's locked in place, you pull the pin and it'll allow this up. Once this is up and you close it, you just close these and it'll lock it in place, like so. Your windlass is all the way forward here. Again, you can control it from the helm, or you can control it from your remote here. In your owner's bag will be a remote that plugs in to a socket there, and then you would be able to control it from up front. You make sure you release the safety chain before dropping your anchor. Once the anchor is deployed, you're going to want to take your rope and cleat it to this cleat. You don't want all the force of that anchor on your windlass motor. In the cockpit of your DC266, you have a freshwater shower. You have a saltwater wash down. Now the freshwater shower, again, you have to have the switch on the dash, and this simply comes out and you can rinse your hair or what have you. Saltwater wash down is a quick connection system. In your owner's bag, you'll have a coiled up saltwater hose that clicks into place. Once it's clicked in, as long as your saltwater pump is on, you'll be able to spray off fish blood or dirt off the boat with saltwater. You have rod storage under here. You have another fire extinguisher. In the back here, you have a large storage tub. It can be used for fish storage, fenders, dock lines, all clean, nice insulated. This is where your fresh water fill would be. If you're using a lot of fresh water for the toilet or a shower, it's a good idea as you're washing the boat. You just unscrew this with the key that supplied it in your owner's bag, and you stick your freshwater hose in there to fill up your freshwater tank. This is your live well. Once you flip the switch at the dash, this will allow you to pump fresh water or salt water into the live well. If you have any fish, a fluke, flounder, what have you, you put it in there, flip the switch, and it'll keep that fish alive until you're ready to process it. You have in the cockpit of your boat, you'll have fold-out seating. You'll have a transom seat that slides out like so. You'll have a port side seat. With the new DC266, they also added just a simple cup holder. Instead of wasting the space, you have a place to put your beverage. You have more cup holders, stainless cup holders in the gunnel, and then you have cup holders here. Under this seat is insulated cooler storage. More cup holders up top. And then in the back here is a freshwater sink. Okay, you have friction hinges that'll keep this lid open. And then you have a freshwater faucet with a magnet to keep the lid closed. You have additional storage down below. It's a great place to throw garbage or empties. There is a bucket for your storage there. You have additional storage. If you fish, this is excellent tackle storage. You have some Plano trays and a couple drawers to come out. Your fuel fill for your DC266 is located on your port side. The boat should come fully fueled with our full prep, but for your first fill, you just simply unscrew this, and that's where you would add your fuel.